Before we get started, I would like to talk to you guys about something that I call a break breath. This is really just a little break where you take an extra breath during a movement. So often, when we're doing a yoga flow, we'll have movements that we do in sequence. Maybe it's the same movement a few times over and over again. Maybe it's a few movements together, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And with each inhale or exhale, you're doing something, you're moving. So sometimes this can seem a little bit overwhelming. And when I feel like, oh, I need to take a break for a minute, what I do is I'll just stop in whichever pose I'm in and take a really deep breath in and out, or out and then in, depending on wherever it is that I've stopped, and then continue going. So an example of that is when we do our yoga jumping jacks in Warrior Two, as we're going with the breath, inhaling, straightening out the knee, bringing the hands up, and exhaling, coming back to Warrior Two. So doing this, inhale, exhale, over and over again. I like to do it 5 times in a row. Maybe you get a little bit tired. So you don't want to go with the breath as much anymore. Here's where you could just take a break breath. Come back down on the exhale. Maybe you even want to give your hands a rest. Stay here. Big breath in and out. And then continue on, moving with your breath. These kinds of little break breaths can be really helpful when we're doing our sun salutations, coming up from downward facing dog and to standing, raising up to standing, or really any time that you're moving continuously and you start to feel like you're out of breath. Yoga is all about listening to your body and really respecting what it is that your body needs at any given moment. So, taking that little break is not something you should ever be worried about. It's something that you should always just feel, oh, okay, I just need a little break. I'm going to take a breath and just go ahead and do it. You don't need to worry about if you're staying with me or staying with everybody else in the class, because yoga is all about moving at your own pace and listening to your own body. So definitely feel free to take a break breath anytime you need it. All right, let's start today on our backs. We can all come to a comfortable position laying down. If for some reason laying down does not feel right to you today, you can start in a seated position or maybe even in child's pose. Here on your back, you can have your knees pointing up to the sky, maybe put some space between the feet. Your hands can rest by your sides with your palms facing up or down. Or if you like, you can also bring your hands to your belly and your heart so you can feel your body moving with your breath. You can stretch your legs out long on the ground, or keep the knees pointing up towards the sky, or maybe have one up and one down. Whatever feels good. And then let your body settle in to your mat. Bring awareness to the back side of your body. See if you can notice where your body's making contact with the earth here. Maybe under your heels, your calves, your upper legs. Maybe there's a little pocket of space underneath your knees. You can almost imagine an outline of your body resting against the ground. You see all the points where you make contact and all those little spaces where there's a little bit of air between your body and the ground. Now start to call attention to your breath. Just noticing how the breath is feeling today. Noticing which parts of your body are moving as you breathe in and out. Bringing awareness to your back. See if you notice there any shifting in the contact as you breathe. Maybe different parts of the body are lifting up ever so slightly from the ground and then coming back down again. And gently start to lengthen the breath. Each inhale, each exhale a little bit longer than the last one. Until with each breath in, you feel your lungs filling up with fresh, clean air. And on each exhale, you're emptying out all the way. As you're breathing nice and slow, do a little body scan, going through each body part one at a time and checking for any sore spots or tenderness. A little daily check-in so that you can be extra careful of any of those tender spots as you move through your practice today. Once you've gone through your whole body, come back to your breath. Just take a couple more big, deep breaths here, just being inside of your body. Blink your eyes open, lifting your knees up. Draw the knees into the chest. Wrap both arms around the legs. Take a big breath in. Exhale, curling into a ball, lifting the forehead to the knees. Squeeze everything tight together. As you breathe out, come into a big good morning stretch. Arms up overhead, stretching the legs out as long as you can. And on your exhale, back into a ball, wrapping the arms around the legs, lifting the forehead up to the knees and squeezing everything tight. Release your head back down, resting on the ground, and bring your hands back to your knees. You can start to do some circles here. Maybe moving both knees together in the same direction, or if it feels good, you can also move the knees in opposite directions from each other. You can do one way for a while and then find circles going in the other direction. You can also switch back and forth. One circle one way and one circle the other way. Whatever feels good. Notice how that feels on the lower back. Maybe there's a nice pressure there, almost like a little massage on the lower back. You can also rock side to side. And then let's release the hands, bringing the arms out wide in a T. If you're really close to a neighbor, you can also kind of goal post your arms, pointing your fingers up to the sky. Or if it feels good, you can have your arms out wide. And then bring the legs into a tabletop. Take a big breath in here. On the exhale, drop the knees down to one side, all the way down to the ground. Try to keep a 90-degree angle, but it's okay if it's not perfect. Whatever feels good there is fine. And you can tuck your fingers on that side in the crease of the top knee. If you like, bringing the gaze over to the opposite hand. See if you can feel where this twist is affecting you. Maybe you feel it in your hips, your neck, anywhere in between, maybe even in your legs somewhere. Maybe more on one side than the other. And let's release when you're ready, releasing that arm back out to the side or back into a goalpost. Inhale, lifting the legs up to center. And on the exhale, drop them down the other way, all the way to the ground. Trying to keep that 90-degree angle, but it's okay if it's not perfect. These fingertips where those legs are can tuck in the crease of the top knee, if that feels good. And turn your head, bringing the gaze over to the opposite hand, completing the twist. Bring your awareness back into your spine, your hips. See if you notice where you feel this twist on this side. Maybe do a little comparison. Maybe more on one side than the other, more in your neck or down towards your lower back. Maybe you feel it even in your arm, your armpit. And let's release that hand back out to the side. Inhale, knees come up to center. Tuck the fingers in the creases of both knees and rock and roll forward and back. Making your way up to a seat. Into easy pose here. Move this back around to my side. Okay, a little cross-legged position. You can have your knees open, feet open, so that you have both feet and both knees on the ground. So I kind of like to tuck my toes in the crease of the opposite knee. Or if it feels good, you can take a more traditional cross-legged position with the feet tucked underneath the knees. On a breath in, let's bring the hands up overhead, stretching the spine up really tall. As you breathe out, folding forward, take your time coming down. You can release your fingers down. And then once you find that edge, that point you don't want to go past, you can start to round out the back and relax the forehead down towards the ground. Don't worry about how far you get down here. Just notice how it feels in your back and your legs. On a breath in when you're ready, make your way back up to a seat. And then release your hands down to the knees or in your lap. We can warm up our neck a little bit here. So we can start by just maybe rocking the head side to side, one ear down towards one shoulder and then the other. These can be bigger movements or smaller, faster or slower. You can also stay on one side if that feels good, and then wrap your hand around your head there, and really gently, you can add pressure if it feels nice. Switching off. You can also do some forward and back movements. Oh, and if it feels good here, you can even include your spine a little bit, kind of like a little cat-cow, a seated cat-cow. And then you can choose to do some of these rounder movements, starting with the U maybe, side to side, rolling the head down in front. And that's also an option in the back. Some U shapes in the back. And when you're ready, if you like, you can work your way all the way up to doing a full circle here. So you can go one way for a while and then switch directions, or do one circle one way and immediately do a circle going the other way, switching back and forth every time. So many choices here. Just noticing how each of these movements feels in your neck, if you're feeling anything there at all. And when you're ready, come back up to a neutral spine. Let's make our way into a twist here with the breath, sweeping the hands up overhead. And on an exhale, twisting around to one side. So you can bring one hand behind and have the other one in front. Or if it feels better, you can also wrap that hand around the opposite knee. Going with the breath here. Inhale to lengthen the spine. And exhale to go deeper into the twist. You can even bend your elbows a little bit. Stay or keep going in and out with the breath. Every time you inhale, sitting up a little taller. And every time you exhale, twisting a little deeper. When you're ready, release. Let's come in on the other side. Hands come up to breathe in. Exhale into the twist. Other hand comes behind you, and this hand can either just be resting on the ground in front or cross it over the opposite knee. With the breath, take a big breath in, lengthen the spine. And on the exhale, maybe going deeper into the twist, bending the elbows, peeking over the back shoulder. And then you can stay there or continue to move with your breath on the inhales, sitting up really tall. And on the exhales, going deeper into the twist. When you're ready, come back to center and give your shoulders a little wiggle. And then let's switch our legs here. So we're going to bring that front leg to the back and push the back leg out in front. You can, again, take that other option of having the feet tucked under the knees. So this is our awkward way. Might feel really weird to have your legs cross the awkward way. That's okay. Totally okay. You can even have your legs a little bit more open here than the other side. And let's try that forward fold if you like. Inhale, hands up. Exhale into the fold. See if you can keep your spine really long on the way down, hinging from the hips. Take your time coming down, stretching the spine. Super long, walking the fingertips forward. And when you find your edge, that point you don't want to go past, you can round out your back. And then relax the forehead down. Maybe even letting the elbows come to rest on the mat. Take a couple big deep breaths here. On your next breath in, slowly lift back up to a seat. Let's do our shoulder and spinal warm up here. So just like when we were moving our head back and forth, moving the spine, we're going to go just a little deeper into that here. So we can start by just doing a couple shoulder circles. We're going to bring them up and then push the shoulders down and back. Here you can go with your breath. You can do one shoulder at a time. Bigger movements or smaller movements. Maybe you want to do some forward circles as well. Let's end with one big circle down the back and sit up really tall. And you can wrap your hands outside of the knees here. That's where I like to have my hands during a spinal warm up. Maybe a little bit more back, maybe a little bit more forward. And then as we breathe with our breath, we're going to move the shoulders, roll them down the back, arch the back, and lean the head back, peek up at the sky. On your exhale, see if you can push your spine out behind you one vertebrae at a time, and then relax your head and neck down. So you can keep going just like that with the breath. Inhale, rolling the shoulders down, arching the back, leaning the head back, peeking up at the sky. Exhale, pushing the spine out behind you, nice and slow, relaxing the head and neck down. Remember, you can always take a break breath. This is a movement where we move in and out with each breath, but you don't need to move with every single breath. You can just take a little pause for an inhaler and an exhale and come right back in wherever it feels good. When you're ready, make your way back to a neutral spine. Let's come into a little side stretch here. So we'll sweep our hands up overhead on a breath in, and then bring your palms together, interlace your fingers, and then turn your palms up to the sky. And here you can just kind of rock side to side a little bit. Moving the shoulders around can make that stretch on the side feel a little more intense or a little more mild. Maybe your arms start to fall asleep. You can always drop one down and just let your other arm arc overhead like a rainbow. You can bend that elbow of the hand that's on the ground, or you can keep it straight. And let's try the other side. Other arm down, opposite arm arcing overhead like a rainbow. You can walk those fingers way far out, or you can keep them close in and bend the elbow. Anywhere it feels good there is fine. Back up on a breath in, stretching the spine up tall. Exhale, hands together in front of the heart. All right, let's make our way to hands and knees tabletop. So this is a really nice balancing pose. We can start by just finding our balance here. You can adjust your clothes if needed. Bringing the knees together to touch right underneath the hips. And then lining the shoulders up with the wrists. And make sure that your fingers are giving you a nice solid base here. Sometimes we don't really pay much attention to what those hands are doing, but if your wrist is lifted up off the ground, or if your fingers are rolled under, you can injure yourself that way. So you want to make sure that you're lined up nice and comfy, wrists below the shoulders, nice and solid, and then pushing down through the pads at the ends of the fingers, spreading the fingers out nice and wide. And then, if you like, you can try the balancing pose here, lifting one leg up, pushing through the sole of the foot like you're stamping it into a wall behind you, and maybe even bringing the opposite arm up. So I've got my left leg lifted and my right leg and left arm. Take a big breath in. And on an exhale, release back down to the mat. Other side. Lifting the opposite leg up, pushing through the sole of the foot like you're stamping it into a wall behind you, and maybe lifting the opposite arm as well. If you feel too wobbly, you can always drop that hand back down, and feel free to take a different option on this side. Even if you lifted up your arm on the other side, maybe this arm's just not up to it. One more big breath in here. On the exhale, releasing back to the mat. So here we can go with our breath again. Inhale, lifting and stretching. Exhale to release back to the mat. Inhale to lift and stretch. Exhale, release. Try to stretch your motion out to match your breath. Remember, we all breathe at a different rate, so we're all going to be moving at just a little bit of a different rate. You can always take a break breath, stay in hands and knees tabletop for a little breath, if that's what feels right. Last one, inhale, lift and stretch. Exhale, releasing back to the mat. Let's take a little break here together. Child's pose. I like to put some space between my knees, but you can also keep the knees together in child's pose. Either way is fine. Big toes touching. If they're overlapping, one of them might start to feel smushed. So I like to keep them separate there, and then push the hips back to the heels. Forehead can relax down to the ground, and you can let your elbows rest on the mat. If your knees are together here, it might feel really nice to wrap the arms back, palms facing up, right next to the feet. And let's bring our awareness back to our breath again. We're just doing some movement, really moving around a lot. So maybe we started to raise our heart rate. Maybe the breathing started to increase a little bit faster. Let's see what you're noticing here. On your next breath in, lift yourself back up to tabletop. And exhale, come into downward facing dog. Tuck your toes under, lift your hips up to the sky. So for downward facing dog, we're making an upside down V shape with the ground here. Our heels are reaching towards the floor, but they don't need to touch. Our shoulders are pushing down the back, so they stay out of our ears. And our knees are pushing back towards straight, but it's okay if they're bent. So you can have your heels up and knees bent, heels down and knees straight. Whatever feels good here. And bend your knees. Look forward to your hands. Take a big breath in. On the exhale, make your way up and coming to the front of the mat in between the hands. Forward fold. Inhale, rising up to standing, bending the knees. Let the arms dangle down. Slowly unroll the spine. Exhale, coming into mountain pose. Let's take a moment here. Take a little break in mountain pose, bringing awareness to the feet. You can rock back and forth on the feet. Oh, that's okay. If your knees are hurting you, you don't need to do that pose. It's okay. We won't come into hands and knees tabletop anymore today. Okay. So we're just bringing awareness to the feet here. You can even close your eyes and just really gently rock back and forth on the feet and see if you can find all the points of contact your feet are making with the earth. And then all the places where your feet are not touching the earth, little pockets under the arch and under the toes. Make a little map of the outside of your foot in your mind as it's touching the earth. And then let's root down through all those points of contact, lifting up on the spine. We can keep our shoulders pushed down the back. Take a couple big deep breaths here. Blink your eyes open. Inhale, lifting the hands up overhead, stretching the spine up tall. Exhale, forward fold. You can bend your knees. Try to keep the spine really long as you go down. And on a breath in, come back up to standing with the knees bent. Let your arms dangle down as you stack your vertebrae. Exhale, mountain pose. 2 more times, just like that. Inhale, hands up. Exhale into the forward fold. Really nice long spine on the way down. And inhale back up to standing with bent knees. Slowly unrolling the spine. Exhale, mountain pose. Last one. Go at your own pace. Inhale to come up. Exhale. Trying to keep the spine long. You can bend your knees. And then inhale. One last time up to standing. Exhale, mountain pose. So that act of unrolling the spine like that actually has a very calming effect because you're activating the vagus nerve there in the back of your neck. It's a really nice one to do just to calm yourself down a little bit. Let's do our warrior sequence here. We're going to start by having one foot at the front and stepping the other foot back. So you can have a nice wide stance here. It can be a little bit more narrow. Whatever feels good on your legs. We've got our front toes pointing straight forward, and the back toes are pointing towards the long edge of the mat. And that front heel can line up right with the center of the back foot or with the back heel, whichever one feels better for you and your body. Our front knee is bent right over that ankle. You can have a deep bend or just a little bit of a bend. And we lift our arms up, peeking on the back hand to make sure it's nice and high. And bring the gaze right to the front middle finger. Let's do our yoga jumping jacks here. Inhale, knee straight, hands up. Exhale, slowly coming back down. Keep going, finding your own rhythm. Moving with your breath. Here's another chance to take a break breath. If that's what your body wants to do, just listening to the body. Imagine that your breath is helping you move here, dictating the pace of your movements. One more big breath in, warrior two. And as you breathe out, bring the hands to the hips, step that back foot up to the front of the mat, give your legs a little wiggle. And let's do the other side. So I'm going to have my other foot pointing forward and step that back foot back here, making sure that heel's lining up with the center of my back foot or the back heel. And you can choose a different one on this side. Remember, our bodies look symmetrical, but they're not. So taking a different option on one side and the other is always okay. Front knee is bent, arms are lifted up, making sure the back hand is nice and high. And the gaze comes to the front middle finger. And then here we can move with our breath. Inhale, straightening out the knee, bringing the hands up. Exhale, coming back down. Keep going, finding your own rhythm. You can even take a break breath in between each jumping jack if that's what you want. Yoga is all about figuring out what your body needs, what you feel like doing inside of your own body. Exhale, coming back down to warrior two. And then drop the hands to the hips, step that back foot forward, shake it all out. And let's come into Ragdoll Pose. Ragdoll Pose is so nice on the spine. Ragdoll Pose, we kind of dangle down and then we grab our elbows with our hands. And so gravity is pulling our spine down the opposite way than it usually does. Usually it goes from head to toe. Gravity's pulling everything from head to toe, and then we fold forward and it pulls it the opposite way. So it's almost like opening up our spine for us a little bit there. Just using gravity as a tool. We can bring our feet about hip width distance apart. And then on a breath in, lift the hands up. Exhale, folding forward. You can bend your knees, relax your head and neck down, and reach your hands out. Grab for the elbows. And then you can also find some movement if it feels good. Bending one knee at a time gives you a little swaying motion. Really gentle. Maybe you feel this in your shoulders, anywhere in the upper back. Maybe you feel it in your neck. And then before you release, peek down at the arms. Notice which way your arms are crossed so we can come in, cross our arms the opposite way the next time. And then release. Bring the fingers down to the ground. Weight comes to the fingers. You can heel, toe the feet back together. Bend the knees. Inhale to standing. Take your time coming up. Exhale, mountain pose. All right, so I have another class, an in-person class that really loves to do balancing poses, and I've tried a little bit of a more complicated, more challenging sequence with them. So I'll show you guys. What we did is we did 3 poses, and then we combined them all into one. So we'll do that together today. You guys can see if you like it, and join me in whichever ones feel good for you. We'll start with tree pose. All weight coming to one leg, and the opposite leg, we've got that knee pointing straight out to the side. Toes on the ground, so the foot on the ankle. Maybe the heel comes up underneath the knee. Or maybe you can bring it all the way up above the knee on the thigh. It's a bit more of a balance challenge there. And once you find your leg balance here, if you like, you can start to include the arms. Anywhere those arms feel good is okay. You can bring your fingertips together up above your head. That's where mine like to be. You can bring your palms together out to the sides like tree branches, or maybe your arms aren't feeling it. You just want to keep them down. Anywhere down here, wherever is fine. Take one last big breath in here. Exhale, release and shake it out. And then let's try the other side. Same pose, tree pose. All weight comes to the other leg. This knee is pointing straight out to the side. We've got the toes on the ground, sole on the ankle. Raise the foot up and bring the heel underneath the knee. Or maybe you want to come all the way up on the thigh. Any of those positions is fine. And you can also take a different one than you took on your other side. And when you're ready, you can include your arms. Also, maybe taking a different arm placement option on this side. One last big breath in here. Exhale, release. Shake it all out. Get that blood flowing through the feet again. All right. So here's the second of the 3 poses that we're going to combine. If you want to try this one, we're going to make a figure 4 with our legs. It's kind of like chair pose. So we're going to be sitting down, but with one of our legs up. So the way that we get into this one, on a breath in, lifting the arms up and float your knee up high. As you breathe out, bring your hands to heart center and then cross your ankle over your opposite knee and bending that standing leg, start to sit low in your chair. So if this feels like too much, you can just take a regular chair pose. But maybe you want this challenge today. Maybe it feels nice to challenge yourself. You can drop those elbows down to the knee. Focus on your breath. And when you're ready, if you like, you can come out by lifting the knee up on a breath in, floating the hands up high. And then release. Shake it all out. Whew. That's a tough one. Let's try the other side, see how it feels. Might feel totally different on the other side. I'll wait. Coming to the other leg. On a breath in, lifting the hands up, knee floating high. Exhale. Bring the hands to heart center. Cross the ankle over the knee, making a figure 4. And then slowly start to sit low in your chair. You can always drop that foot down. Take chair pose on 2 feet if that's what your body's feeling, or maybe you want to take the extra challenge. Maybe you can drop the elbows down to that upper leg. And then when you're ready, release on a breath in, lift the knee up, arms up overhead. Exhale, release, shake it all out. So the last pose of the 3 that we're going to combine all together is Warrior 3 pose. I'll show you this one from the side so you can see my whole body. We're going to stretch one leg out in front of us, out behind us, and the arms as well. Arms come out wide like airplane wings. So for this one, bringing all weight to one leg, just like the others. Inhale, lifting the knee up, arms up overhead. Exhale, bend the standing leg and then hinge forward from the hips, pushing that upper leg up behind you. So if you would just want to tap those toes on the ground here, that's okay. Or maybe you can lift it all the way up, bringing it parallel to the ground. Maybe you can even drop the gaze down to the ground, push through that heel, flexing your toes. Release on a breath in, lift the knee high, arms up overhead. Exhale, shake it all out. Whew, starting to get out of breath here. Let's try the other one. Oh, wait, coming to the other leg. Inhale, knee comes up, arms overhead. Exhale, bend the standing leg, hinge forward from the hips, pushing that upper foot up behind you like you're stamping it into a wall. Maybe just tapping the toes on the ground to help with your balance. Or maybe bringing it all the way parallel to the ground, dropping the gaze down to the ground. Pushing through the heel, flexing the toes. Inhale, release, knee high, arms up overhead. Exhale, shake it all out. Okay, we deserve a little break until we combine all those 3 together. So let's just take a break here in a seat. Any comfortable seated positions is fine. You can also take a child's pose or lay on your back. Anytime we take a break, any of those choices are fine. You can also have your legs just out in front of you, wherever they feel good. Close your eyes. Bringing awareness to your breath. You can also bring your hands to your belly and your heart. Help feel the breath underneath your fingers. Sometimes that feels really nice. Just helps to really ground you, bring you present into your body. And then start to slow the breath down. Stretching each breath out a little bit longer than the last. See if you can feel where your breath is moving your body. Maybe you feel your shoulders rising and falling. Maybe you feel it in your back, your belly. Notice where you're connected to the surface underneath you. And if you're seated, maybe you feel it on the back of your legs, your feet. Take a couple more big, full, deep breaths here. And when you're ready, blink your eyes open. Let's make our way back up to standing. And if anybody would like to join me, we'll try to combine those three poses all together. I'll face sort of at an angle here so you can see me. We'll start by just bringing weight to one leg. We're going to come into tree pose to begin. So bring one hand to your hip, and then with that opposite leg, the knees pointing straight out to the side. You can have your toes on the ground, so the foot on the ankle, or heel underneath the knee. And then on a breath in, if you want to include the hands, lifting the hands up overhead. One more breath in here. Exhale, bring your hands back to heart center and then release the foot, just dropping it over the knee and start to sit down in your chair. We'll just stay here for a couple breaths. On your next inhale, straighten up, lift your knee up, arms up overhead. Exhale, warrior three, bend the standing leg, hinge from the hips, send that upper foot back behind you like you're stamping it into a wall. Big breath here, in and out. And then on the inhale, lift the knee back up, arms overhead. Exhale, shake it all out. Whew. Let's try it on the other side. So we're going to give this leg a break. This other leg's going to do all the work now. See how it can handle it. Starting with tree pose. All weight comes to your other leg. We've got this knee pointing straight out to the side. Toes on the ground, sole of the foot on the ankle. Heel under the knee. We're coming all the way up on the thigh. Stay here or include the arms. One more big breath in here. On the exhale, bring your hands to heart center, release the foot, and then cross it over your knee. Start to bend that standing leg and sit low in your chair. Maybe you can even drop those elbows down to the upper leg. Just stay here for a couple big breaths. On a breath in, straighten back up, lift your knee up, arms up overhead, tap those toes on the ground if you need to. Exhale, bend the standing leg, hinge forward from the hips, send that foot straight out behind you, or maybe top the toes on the ground. Take a big breath here, in and out. On the inhale, releasing, coming back up, knee high, arms up overhead. Exhale, release, shake it all out. Whew. That was a tough one. All right, let's take one more break, making your way back down to a seat. So maybe you want to take your seated break this time with your legs crossed the awkward way. Maybe your legs are a little tired. You want to open them up a little bit, resting your knees on your hands and your lap. Anywhere that feels good, close your eyes. Check back in with your breath. If you like, you can bring your hands to your belly and your heart. Feel your body moving with your breath. See if you can make your way back to a strong, full breath once again. Blink your eyes open. Let's stretch our legs out long in front of us. You can have them together or put some space between them, coming into a forward fold. Start by sweeping the hands up overhead. Exhale, interlace the fingers and then fold forward. Maybe you can loop those hands around your feet. Maybe your hands just rest on your legs or on the sides of your legs. Relax your forehead down towards your knees. Don't worry about how far you go down here. It's all about how it feels inside of your body. See if you can notice where you're feeling this stretch, maybe in your upper lower back, your legs. This is a full back body stretch, so any of those points on your back body might be feeling the stretch right now. Inhale, walking your hands back, coming back up to a seat. Let's come into another little twist here, making your way into easy pose. Inhale, hands up. Exhale, twisting around to one side. One hand is behind and the other one in front or crossing over the opposite knee. You can go in and out with your breath here. On the inhales, lengthening the spine. And on the exhales, twisting deeper. Release on a breath and float the hands up. Exhale, twisting around the other way. Release on a breath and float the hands up. Stretch your spine up really tall. Exhale, hands together in front of the heart. This time we're going to bring the soles of our feet together. Let the knees open out wide to the sides. So your knees might be really sticking up or they might be really close to the ground. The human hip bone has a huge variety of angles in it. So your hips might be kind of facing forward or kind of more out to the sides, and that'll really determine how far down your knees go. That's a lot of genetics, not so much on how you move your body or what kind of shape you're in as much as what your genes say. So don't worry about that. You can interlace your fingers and then tuck them underneath the toes or just around the fronts of the toes. Take a big breath in to sit up really tall. And on your exhale, maybe folding over the feet, maybe opening up the elbows and pushing the knees down. And then once you find your edge, you can round out your back and relax the forehead down. You can also release your hands and start to walk the fingertips forward if that feels good. On your next breath in, come back up to a seat. Lift your knees up. And we can bring our hands behind us here, fingers pointing towards the hips. Lean back on the hands a little bit. And then gently rock your knees side to side. A little bit of a twist here. Really nice release for the hips. And it feels pretty good on the lower back to me as well. And then let's come all the way down to our backs. Coming back into cannonball pose. Let me move that mic so you can still hear me. Draw the knees to the chest, wrap the arms around the legs. Take a big breath in. Exhale, forehead to knees curling into a ball. Release the head back down And let's do some more circles here. So maybe if you had your knees moving the same direction as each other, maybe this time you want to try moving them in opposite directions or not. You can also move them in the same direction if that's what feels good to you. Switching back and forth, one direction to the other. We're staying moving in circles one way for a while and then moving the other way. And this time we're going to just do a twist with one leg. So keeping one knee up to the chest, let the other leg slide back down to its spot on the mat. And then we're just going to let that leg fold over down towards the ground. Maybe just your toes are touching the ground. And you can take that hand that's on the same side where your knee is, tuck the fingers in the crease of the knee. And maybe that opposite arm stretches out to the side. Maybe you got to goal post the arm. Maybe it just stays down, wherever it feels good. And release. Bring your knee back into your chest. Other knee joins it. And then switch sides. Let that leg slide back down to its spot on the mat. And twist the other way, dropping that leg across your body. Maybe just the foot is touching the ground. Fingertips on that side can tuck in the crease of the knee. Turn the head, bringing the gaze over to the opposite hand. You can goal post that arm anywhere it feels good there. Release your hand back out to the side. Bring your knee back into the chest one last time. Wrap both arms around the legs. Take a big breath in. Exhale, curling tight into a ball, squeezing everything together. And then release into Shavasana, our final resting pose. So you can lay flat on your back. That's our traditional Shavasana pose, is just flat on the back. But if your lower back is bothering you, popping the knees up to the sky might give your lower back the release it needs. You can have your palms resting on the ground or facing up, or bring your hands to your body, resting on your belly or your heart. Bring your chin into your chest, rock your head side to side, and just let it fall back to its natural center resting point. Close your eyes. We're going to do a little meditation here. You can stay where you are. I'm just going to sit up so I can read you this meditation. This is a breathing meditation. It's really nice, lovely breathing meditation called Anapanasat. And close your eyes. Now lengthen your spine, allowing your shoulders to drop away from the ears. Let there be a little space between your upper and lower teeth, softening your jaw, maybe even softening the space between the eyebrows. Soften your belly, letting it relax. Let your legs get a little heavier. And bring some awareness to all the points of contact you have with the surface underneath you. Notice if you're placing more pressure on your left or right side of the body. Maybe evening it out if that's what feels good. Notice which parts of your legs, your back, your arms are in contact with the surface beneath you. Which edges of the feet. While maintaining a nice tall spine, see if you can softly sink into those connection spots a little bit. Staying with your normal natural breath in and out of the nose at a rate that is comfortable to you. Start to bring some awareness into your belly. Notice any sensations that happen there as you breathe. This isn't a forced movement. You might not feel anything at all. That's okay. Just notice what happens in your belly as you inhale and exhale. Maybe there's a slight expansion in the belly as you breathe in, and a slight contraction as you breathe out. Maybe it's very subtle. For a few breath cycles, just notice what's happening in your belly. Moving your awareness to your rib cage, just around the lungs. Stay with your normal natural breath. Just notice any sensation, any movement that happens there. Maybe the ribs move outward, making room for the lungs to expand as you breathe in. And then softly move back towards the midline of the body as you breathe out. This could be very subtle. You might not feel anything there at all. That's okay. Just notice for a few breath cycles. Now moving your awareness to your heart, your chest. With your normal breath, maybe there's just a slight lifting feeling of the chest as you breathe in, and a slight softening down as you breathe out. Just notice. Now move your awareness to your throat and your nose. Maybe you notice a temperature or a texture of the air as it comes in through the nose and into the throat. Notice how it might change as it leaves the throat and the nose. Staying with the normal breath, just keep your focus there for a few cycles. When you feel ready, start to deepen your breath, making your inhales and exhales a little bigger. And notice how all these parts work and move together. So, on an inhale, you might feel expansion through the belly, the ribs, heart, throat, and nose. And on the exhale, you might feel a natural softening as everything moves back toward the midline of the body. Take a few deep, slow breaths and just feel how your body is breathing, how it responds to this inhale and this exhale. We're just going to take a few minutes of silent meditation here, and then we'll complete our flow. Bring your awareness back to your breath, taking some deeper inhales and exhales. Bringing some movement into your fingers and toes. Rocking your head side to side. And then slowly make your way back up to a seat. Just do a couple more poses to complete our flow. And coming into easy pose. On a breath in, float the hands up. Exhale, forward fold over the feet. Take your time coming down. Find your edge, round out the back, and relax your forehead. On a breath in, coming back up to a seat, floating the hands up high. Exhale, side stretch. One hand comes down, walk the fingers out, opposite arm arcing overhead. You can bend and straighten that arm. You can walk the fingers all the way out. And release on a breath in, coming back up. Exhale, down the other way. Back up on a breath in. Exhale, hands together in front of the heart. Thank you all so much for joining me today for yoga.